Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. This is episode number 23 of season 2026, round 6 review coming your way today. We had 9 matches of football on the weekend. We're going to go through all of them. We had, 4 or 5 games that were less than 10 points, single figure margins. My brain is working great already. This is the second time I've recorded this podcast because I accidentally muted myself last time. Anyway, moving right along. There were some close games. There was a few blowouts. A couple of teams got absolutely crucified by injuries. We're going to go through all of that. All the hot talking points from the round of football. As we do each and every week. We do 2 episodes. This Monday episode, which is our review episode of the weekend being. We'll be back again on Thursday with a preview of the upcoming round. All Aussie Rules Footy Podcast. I don't think there's any more housekeeping to do, so we're going to jump straight into it. And the first game of the weekend, which was on Thursday night, as it is every single weekend. This week, it was Carlton, it was Collingwood, traditional rivals at the MCG, and went right down to the wire. There was a lot of talking points from this game. Before we jump into the football aspect, obviously the big talk of the world was outside of the game. Well, it was inside the game, but we all know what the big talking point was. We're not going to go into it too much, other than to say, we stand with Elijah. We hope that he's doing okay. Not the sort of thing you want to see, but we hope he's good. Other than that, we'll move into the football. Weird sort of game. Both teams had their opportunities. Collingwood looked probably the better team in the first quarter. Carlton got the last goal of the first quarter to get within a point at quarter time. Felt like maybe Collingwood should be a couple goals clear, is my thought on that first quarter. Carlton came out of quarter time and absolutely dominated the second quarter. Certainly the early parts of the second quarter. They got 5 goals in a row, I think, for the first 4 of the second quarter as well as the last of the first. And they looked really good at that point, up by more than 20 points halfway through the quarter. Collingwood got the last one of the second quarter just to give themselves a chance, 14 points down at half time. Third quarter, similar story, except Carlton wasted some opportunities this time. They kicked the first goal instantly, 19 seconds, into the third quarter. Missed a few easy opportunities. Collingwood got some goals back. Carlton did miss some chances again. But it was 18 points at 3-quarter time. Still felt like Carlton were probably in control from quarter time onwards. However, there's obviously everybody knows about the falling apart of Carlton in specifically second halves, but also last quarters. So there was always that in the back of the mind, and instantly it happened. Nick Dacos put on probably the best 12 minutes of his career so far. Kicked the first goal 23 seconds into that final quarter, and that just got the ball rolling. He was involved in everything. Some young players kicked some goals. Steen, Will Hayes, and things were just going great. Collingwood hit the front. They even got out by double figures multiple times through this quarter. After the first time Collingwood got to about 12 points, Carlton did lift from that point and did create some opportunities, but every time they got one, Collingwood tended to get one straight back, except for the last Matthew Carroll kicked one with a couple minutes to go. And then, obviously, if you haven't seen it yet, but Taylor Byrne had a set shot from about 35-40 metres out, not too much of an angle, to win the game after the siren, which he missed. Heartbreakingly for him and the Blues. That would have tied it up. So it wasn't to win, but it was to tie the game. He missed. Collingwood win by 5 points. Not much else to say about that side of the game. Team stats-wise, weird sort of game. No doubt about it. Collingwood dominated inside 50s, like they did against Fremantle. Couldn't put the score on the board. They were pretty good in clearances, which is a little surprising. They haven't been great in clearance game, and Carlton have been pretty good so far this year. Contested footy was dominated by Carlton. Collingwood still need to do something about that side of the game. They get away with it here, but their contested football this season has been probably just about the worst or in the bottom 3 teams in the competition. High mark game for both teams, especially Collingwood at 136. Scoring wise, there were some interesting numbers to look at here. Mainly, Collingwood did all their scoring just about from the forward half and from turnover. 70 out of their 88 points came from turnover, and 66 out of their 88 points came from the forward half. So that tells you exactly where their scoring came from in this game throughout the whole thing. On the other side of things, Carlton were a lot more like even across the board in their scoring aspect, and even got 3 goals from centre bounce to Collingwood's 1, which was that first goal of the last quarter. Best players, or Brownlow first. If you're new around here, we do Brownlow votes for every single game. We base it on what we think the umpires will see, not necessarily our best 3 players in the game. In this situation, it might be the best 3 anyway, but Nick Dacos 3 votes. I think it's an almost certainty that he gets 3 votes for this game. 39 touches. He was instrumental in Collingwood coming back and winning this game. Harry Perryman, maybe his best game as a Collingwood player. He was really good throughout, specifically late. I think Lipinski might be in with a chance for votes as well. And then Sam Walsh, we've gone with 1 vote. He was really good throughout this game. He's been good the last 2 weeks. Best players, highest rated players. We do a rating system as well, which rates every single player, every single game, based on all their stats, and that spits out a number for us, basically, long and the short of it. That then goes towards our MVP voting, which we'll do at the end of the episode, a leaderboard for the year so far, and we'll also do our Brownlow leaderboard after round 6 at the end, as well as our tips at the end, how they went. Zach Williams, highest rated blue, he was good. Sam Walsh, as we mentioned, was 2nd highest, and then you got Matt Carroll. Ollie Florent had a really good game, and Lockie Cohen was 5th highest rated Carlton blue. For Collingwood, it was Nick Dacos' show, especially in that last quarter. 39 touches and a goal in his 100th AFL game. He's a freak. Harry Perryman, really good. Darcy Cameron, probably his best game of the year. He was good. Paddy Lipinski, very, very good. He's been quiet to start the year, so he'll be happy that he contributed quite well. And Jeremy Howe was the 5th highest rated pie in this one. Not too much else to go through on in this game. We'll jump into the next one. There was 2 games on Friday night. We kicked off with Geelong v the Bulldogs, and this was a disaster. Absolute disaster for the Bulldogs. There's no 2 ways about it. They go down by 75 points to a very good Geelong, but they also cop injuries left, right, and centre in this game, the Bulldogs. So, yeah, the debrief of this one is going to be an interesting one in a Bulldog land. But Cats just really good. 19-17, 131. Bulldogs 8-8, 56. We mentioned there was quite a few injuries. So Sam Darcy goes down. He misses pretty much most of the game. Suspected ACL, which turns out it is officially an ACL. So that's his season done, which is never good to see. You don't want to see any player go down, but star players always hurt a little bit more. Liberatore got concussed, so we won't see him this weekend against the Swans. So he's out. James O'Donnell, he missed the last quarter and a bit with soft tissue injury. And then Rory Lobb missed most of the last quarter with a soft tissue injury. And Bontempelli also had like a little niggle as well at one point. He did come back on play, but I wouldn't be certain that he's going to play this week against the Swans, but we'll see how that plays out. So some concerns, definitely, for the Bulldogs. However, Adam Treloar did play really well in the VFL on the weekend, so I think he's a walk-up straight back into this team this week. He'll replace Libba, but yeah, they certainly need to show more than what they did in this game. Granted, injuries obviously hurt them, but even the first quarter, they got pretty well smacked. It was 40-8 at quarter time, 32 points. It got a lot worse from that point, but it wasn't a great start. The first quarter was a disaster. The last quarter was pretty bad as well. That was 6-1 as well. So I guess you take out the first and the last, and it was that was 12-2. The rest of the game's 7-6. So second and third quarter weren't too bad, but the damage was done. Speaking of damage, Jeremy Cameron, what an absolute outstanding performance. 10 goals. First player to kick 10 goals in a game this season, and the first player to do it since he did it last year against North Melbourne. He's a gun. Him and Bailey Smith both absolutely controlled this game. They dominated. They were so impressive, the two of them. Bailey Smith, he's in incredible touch. I think he's playing better football this year than he was last year. So he's been really good. What else to take from this game? Stats, I mean, it's going to be lopsided. Geelong dominated, plus 26 inside 50s. Clearance numbers were pretty level. Contested footy pretty level, but uncontested footy was controlled by Geelong. Turnover game was really good by Geelong. They were 11 below their average in terms of turnovers, and the Bulldogs were plus 7. So plus a difference of 14 in turnovers. That tells you where this game was won and lost. Just the control of the ball and then ability to turn those into scores was just fantastic by Geelong, which was helped by the fact that Jeremy Cameron just couldn't put a foot wrong. Brownlow votes, your 3 and 2 are going to have to be Cameron and Bailey Smith. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They have to be 3 and 2. I can see it going both ways. I think Cameron deserves it for 10 goals. But I wouldn't be that disappointed if Bailey Smith did get the 3 in this one. And then the 1, I think, just goes to Max Holmes. I don't think... I feel like that should be the way it goes. Is that the way it will? Probably likely. Highest rated players for Geelong. Bailey Smith actually outrated Jeremy Cameron in the end, just by 4 rating points. But those two were outstanding, best 2 players almost of the weekend. There were a couple good performances from other players as well. Max Holmes, 3rd highest. Then Lawson Humphreys and Shannon Neal was the surprise packet that gets into 5th. A lot of people probably wouldn't put him high in the ratings, but the numbers say that he played well. For the Doggies, it was Bailey Dale, their highest rated. Ed Richards, who's bravely going on and on each week, even though he's had injury issues. Sam Davidson, 3rd. Matt Kennedy, 4th. These are pretty low ratings, though, for top 5 players. And Michael Selwood was their 5th highest rated player. Cats dominant is the long and the short of this game. Next up, it was the Battle of the Bridge in Sydney. Sydney v the GWS Giants. This was at the SCG, and the Swans get the win comfortably in the end. But comfortably on the score sheet, but not so much comfortably in the actual gameplay, I don't think. Their last quarter was very good, but straight kicking won this game. Once again, bad kicking at goal is bad footy. We say it week in, week out, and GWS prove it here, and a couple other teams prove it this weekend as well. 8 goals at 18. You're going to struggle to win too many games when you're kicking like that in front of goal. First quarter, pretty close. Second quarter, Sydney kind of controlled it. It was low scoring, wet weather game. 19 points up at halftime, the Swans. And then we had a long halftime break due to a lot of thunder and lightning in the area, which was interesting. Overall, even at 3/4 time, it still felt like it was game on. It's 17 points at 3/4 time. Either team could have won. Felt like Giants definitely should have been closer. At minimum, should have been level, I think. But the final quarter, Sydney dominated. There is that argument as well. So they kicked 7-2 to 3-2 in that final quarter. Up until that point, Giants maybe had an argument that they were at least as good as Sydney on the day, but the final quarter, Sydney blew them away. And in the end, if they had a kick straight, maybe the Giants would have won. I haven't actually looked at expected scores, but I'd imagine they would be close. expected score has Sydney winning by 10 points. So I would say that probably had GWS in front at three-quarter time. In the end, shots at goal was 23 for GWS, 29 for the Swans. So 17 goals from 29 shots for Sydney, 8 goals from 23 shots for the Giants. Brownlow votes, I think Nick Blakey 100% deserves them. He was the best player on the ground. I've gone Clayton Oliver for the 2 and Justin McInerney with the 1. Other players in contention, probably Chad Warner, maybe his best game of the year so far. Brodie Grundy's in that argument. I don't think Heaney will get votes here, but he could. There's a slight chance. So yeah, they're my 3. Blakey, Oliver, McInerney, with Warner probably, maybe unlucky. Highest rated players in this one, we've got Nick Blakey was best on ground. I don't think there's too many arguments about that. He put up some insane numbers in this one. 34 touches, 882 metres gained, 6 inside 50s, 18 handball receives, 6 intercepts. He was great. McInerney, huge. Maybe putting his hand up for most improved player in the AFL this season. I think there's a genuine argument for that. He's been super. Brodie Grundy, good game from him. Chad Warner is your 4th highest rated player for the Swans, and then Tom McCartan, 5th, played a good game. For the Giants, there's some interesting names in this list. Some surprise packets, I think. Clayton Oliver, number 1 rated player on the ground. Not on the ground, but for the Giants again. He's been huge for them so far this year. In a midfield that has been missing some players, he's been really good. Lika Lear, in a new kind of role for him. He played forward/ruck, did quite well. Phoenix Gothard was good. He's showing some good signs as a young kid. Jaden Laverde and Lockie Whitfield was their 5th highest rated player. Swans too good, 41-point winners. Giants, they're getting better. They just need a kick straight is pretty much the long and the short of it, I think. Next up, we move to Saturday football. There was 3 games on Saturday, and all 3 of them were resulted by less than 10 points. Suns first up against the Bombers up at People First Stadium on the Gold Coast. And the Suns just hold on. 17-17, 119, 17-8, 110. Straight kicking from the Bombers certainly helped their cause here, but they were really good. There's no doubt about it. They're playing better football than they were even 3 weeks ago. Their last 2.5 weeks have been really quite good, and this was more proof of that. They started well. They were leading 4 goals to 2, I think, at one point late in the first quarter before the Suns kicked the last 3 of that first quarter. Really late, like in the last 3 or 4 minutes, which gave the Suns the lead at quarter time. Second quarter, the Suns got out by 20 points, and it was like, well, maybe this is where they kick away. They did waste a lot of opportunities in that quarter, kicking just 3 goals, 7. But the Bombers fought back late in the second quarter and took the lead on the stroke of halftime to lead by 3 points. Third quarter was a bit of an arm wrestle for most of it. The Bombers were leading midway through that quarter, but the last 5 minutes was probably the point where Gold Coast won this game in the end. They kicked the last 4 or 5 goals of the third quarter just to give them that little handy lead of almost 20 points. When they kicked the first goal 22 seconds into the final quarter, they were up by 18 points, and you felt like that might be enough. But the Bombers came again, as they did all day. Edwards' caddy stood up in that last quarter. Roby got a goal. Both teams missed some opportunities. The last, 18 minutes of the quarter, there was no goals after there was 4 goals in the first 12 minutes. Once again, Suns kicked poorly in that quarter as well, so maybe it was that end of the ground that they just couldn't kick straight. They kicked 2 goals, 6 in that quarter to go with their 3-7 the first time up that end. So 5 goals, 13 to one end to 12 goals, 4 to the other end. Bombers, they kicked 3-3 in the final quarter. Put up a fight, they nearly got there. There was certainly points in that last quarter where perhaps they had a chance. Caldwell missed a couple in about a space of 20 seconds that could have really, really turned the game if he had got one or two of those. But that's football. Gold Coast wasted a lot more opportunities throughout the game than the Bombers did, I think. But it's always those ones in the last few minutes that you notice the most. Some team stats here. 60 inside 50s to 55, so 5 extra for Gold Coast. Bombers huge in the clearance game. That was their bread and butter in this. This is where they kept themselves in it. Plus 8 clearances, plus 5 centre clearances. With that, their scoring from stoppage wasn't great though. So they dominated the clearances, but they couldn't turn it into scores, and that is probably their biggest issue right now. Like Gold Coast outscored them 60 to 38 from stoppage, even though the Bombers dominated clearance numbers. So it's something to work on for the Bombers. It's something that I think they can get better at. It's probably they have a lot of lack of experience in their forward line, so I think that can grow and get better. Obviously, we'll see how that shapes up. Shots at goal was 40 for the Gold Coast Suns, which is a lot, and 27 for the Bombers. Outside of that, really good game, entertaining game. I think ideally both teams would like to see less scoring from their opposition. I think especially on the side of Gold Coast, who are a team that a lot of people consider ready to challenge for top 4 sort of areas. They won't want to be conceding 110 points too often. Granted, the Bombers kick straight, but yeah. Offensively, both teams look fine. Defensively, maybe some areas to work on, but positive signs certainly on the Bombers side of things that they're getting there after a really tough start to the year. And then on the Gold Coast side of things, we don't know where they're at. They were really good in opening round against Geelong. Since then, they haven't played much, and they have gone down to Melbourne and nearly lost to the Bombers. So make of that what you will. They're winning games of football. They're right up towards the top, but it's going to be interesting to see how they go right now against a better opposition. We'll see over the coming weeks. We'll get that opportunity to find out, I guess. Certainly this week they travel down to Tasmania to play Hawthorn, so that'll be a fascinating match. Speaking of Hawthorn, next up we head to Marvel Stadium for the Hawks. The Power Marvel Stadium Saturday afternoon football. Looked like it was going to be a blowout early, as was probably expected. Hawks were up comfortably in the first quarter. They kicked 4 goals in the first 8 minutes of the game and looked like they were flying, and were 45 to 19 at quarter time. After that, though, Port Adelaide dominated. Their second quarter, Port Adelaide's, was fantastic, kicking 6 goals 1 to 0-2 to give themselves the lead at half-time against all odds. And then there was a bit of toing throwing for both teams. Both teams had opportunities, there's no doubt about it. Hawthorn probably created the more opportunities, certainly in that last quarter. Didn't take them all. But the Power, they had a chance. Georgiadis had a set shot, 45 metres out. Bit of a tough angle with about a minute to go. Pushed it wide. And then Hawthorn didn't give them another opportunity after that. So both teams probably a little bit disappointed with how the game went in some ways. Certainly Port Adelaide probably with the result, they would have probably liked to have won this one. And Hawthorn, they would have come into this expecting to win by more. Certainly based on what we'd seen from Port Adelaide in recent weeks. But they put up a good fight. The impressive game from both teams, I think, overall. And, Hawthorn get the win, +7 inside 50s. Clearance numbers actually went the way of Port Adelaide. Not that surprising. They have some good midfielders in there. Contested footy did go the way of the Hawks. Any other interesting stats from the game to go through? I don't think too much. Shot numbers pretty much even. Score pretty close to even. Expected score not too dissimilar. Both teams' score sources were pretty similar across this game, and score origin was also pretty similar. So, yeah, weird sort of game. In terms of expected our Brownlow votes, this will be an interesting one. Horn, Francis, Butters, I think, get the 3 and the 2. I think they were the best 2 players on the ground, in my opinion. Zach Butters was best on ground in my opinion, but I just see maybe the umpires giving Horn, Francis the 3. We'll see. But I think they'll get the 3 and the 2, even though they lost. I've given Nick Watson 1. I just don't think many players from Hawthorn stood out, as has been the case with them this year in many games. They have a very consistent basis across the list. The whole team rates really well without having any stars, and that has been their blueprint this year, and it's working very, very well for them. So maybe we won't have the standouts too often in the Brownlow for the Hawks, but their team performance was really good enough to get them the win. Jai Newcomb was good in the first quarter, maybe not so good after that. Yeah, Blake Hardwick, highest rated player for the Hawks, then battle Impey, Lewis, Newcomb. Lewis really good as a key forward there. Port Adelaide was Zach Butters. As I said, he was best on ground. I don't think too many people would argue with that. He had 35 touches, 16 contested. Todd Marshall, really good down back. He's been good down back since coming into the team. Horn Francis, 3rd highest. Then Bergman and Ollie Wines. I think I've just realised that I didn't actually read out the Essendon Gold Coast game, so let's run through the votes and such for that. Matt Rao, we've given them a 3-2. The umpires love him. He had 35 touches. And then I've gone Zach Merritt and Darcy Parish, 2 and the 1. Christian Petrarca, really unlucky not to be in my Brownlow votes there. I think those are the 4 players. I've given Matt Rao the tick because we know the umpires do give him a lot of votes. Petrarca, I think definitely, in my opinion, was probably the best player for Gold Coast. Sorry, I almost said Melbourne. I think Zach Merritt was best on ground. I think Christian Petrarca was 2nd best on ground. And then I'd say probably Darcy Parish was maybe 3rd. But in terms of actual Brownlow voting, it's going to be Rowell and Petrarca, and it's going to be Merritt and Parish. Is my thoughts. The exact order we'll see on Brownlow night. But highest rated players, Petrarca, he's been Gold Coast's highest rated player in all 3 games that he's played, the full game. The one game he obviously played half where he got injured. He didn't rate the highest, but he's had a super start to the year. Miller, Humphrey, Matt Rao, Mac Andrew in that new role for him was good. And for the Bombers, as I said, Zach Merritt was the highest rated player for the team. He was huge this weekend. He's had a couple big games in a row, so he's playing some really good football at the moment. Andy McGrath, Jai Caldwell was good, except for those couple misses late. Cole Langford and Darcy Parish, 2 weeks in a row, has been really good as well. Alrighty, we jump into the Saturday night game. It was Crows, St Kilda, Adelaide Oval, and another one that went down to the wire. Interesting game, this one. 15-13, 103, 15-12, 102. Another game where both teams scored 100. Home team, favourite, got up just like the previous 2 games of the day. Weird game. Adelaide kicked the first pretty early, and then St Kilda dominated the rest of the first quarter. 28-8 at quarter time. They then also kicked the first and the third goals of the second quarter to be up by like 26 points, I think, early in that second, and it was looking like they were really on. Adelaide turned it around. Certainly the back half of that second quarter, they kicked the last 5 goals of the second quarter to actually have a 8-point lead at half time. It might have been the last 6 goals actually of the second quarter, because Peatling did get a goal right on the buzzer. So 8-point lead at half time for the Crows. And then they dominated early in the third quarter. Sorry, I keep getting my quarters mixed up for some reason with what I say. But they kicked away. They were out by 28 points midway through that third quarter. 10-goal turnaround basically from early on in the second to midway through the third. And now you're thinking Adelaide by how much? But just St Kilda didn't go away. They kicked a couple, then Crows kicked a couple, and then St Kilda kicked 4 or 5 in a row, and they got the game back to level. They never hit the front, but they got to level. Then Adelaide would kick a goal, then St Kilda would kick a goal, then Tex Walker kicked another. I think he ended up with 5 or 6. We'll get to his numbers in a minute. And then 5 he kicked. I don't know where I got the 6 from. Maybe that was the Paul Curtis one. And then St Kilda kicked one with like 12, 15 seconds to go in the game just to give them a slight sniff late. But it was too little too late. And the Crows walk away by a point in an absolute thriller. Team stats in this one. Adelaide dominated inside 50s plus 9. Clearances were dead level. Nothing too exciting in the possession numbers, I don't think. Just a really good contest, even contest across the game, even though spurts of the match were dominated by different teams. It ended up just like accumulating to being pretty even battle, if that makes sense at all. Yeah, other interesting things. Adelaide wasted some opportunities, even though the scoring wise says 15-13 to 15-12. If you count shots at goal, 37 for the Crows, 29 for the Saints. So hypothetically, the Crows maybe should have done a little bit better than they did. Pretty even contest in most areas. Centre bounce might be where the Crows ended up winning it, kicking 4 goals to 1 from St Kilda. That might be the difference, maybe. Brownlow votes. Jack Sinclair, we've given the 3. Tex Walker 2. Cal Wilkie 1. I don't know. I think those 3 were the best players. What order is the best? I don't know. Sinclair had like 35 touches. He was really good. Tex Walker only had 12, but did kick 5 goals and was crucial in the win for the Crows. Cal Wilkie had like 16 intercept possessions, 31 disposals. I think he went at 87% with his disposal as well, so he was really good. There's always a chance that Wanganeen Malira might get a vote, maybe Flanders. Other Crows were Malira, maybe Peatling, and Sam Berry, and a very outside chance, I think. But that's the way we see it. Sinclair, Walker, Wilkie. Highest rated players in this one. Peatling ends up being Adelaide's highest rated player. He's putting together some good games of late. Tex Walker kicked 5 goals, was very good. Wayne Malira's having a great season so far. Josh Worrell, another one that's had a very good start to the year. And then we've got Nick Murray in 5th for the Crows. Highest rated player of the weekend, though, Cal Wilkie. I think 3rd, maybe 4th player to crack the 200 rating this season. And 3 weeks in a row we've had a player do it. It was Brodie Grundy 2 weeks ago, Isaac Heaney the week before, or last week, and then Cal Wilkie this week. Huge game, as we said, intercepts, really good. Jack Sinclair, huge, really affected the scoreboard as well. Wanganeen Malira was very good. Darcy Wilson, and then Rowan Marshall basically played as a one-out ruck most of the way because De Koning had some injury issues. He still played a decent amount of game time, De Koning, but unlikely to play this week, maybe De Koning, so we'll see what Rowan Marshall can do as that sole ruckman. We did argue pre-season that maybe St Kilda would have been better off just having that as the option, but we'll see. Maybe they'll work it out and those two will start to play some good football together. We shall see. I don't think there's anything else to go through on that game, so let's jump into Sunday football. We kicked off with an interesting game. It wasn't the most exciting game of football, but another game that saw injury chaos on the side of the Tigers. They go down 7-13-55. North Melbourne 20 goals 10 130. 75-point winners for the Roos. Comfortable throughout most of the game. Granted, it maybe should have been a little bit closer at quarter time. 5 goals 3, played 1 goal 7. After that point, it was 6 goals 6 for the Tigers for the rest of the game. So they did tidy up their goal kicking a little bit after quarter time, but too many wasted opportunities is the long and the short of it, but also a lot of injury concerns. Sam Banks played about a minute and then broke his collarbone, I think. It was his collarbone. So he basically missed the whole game. Chuck in the fact that Rioli went and did a soft tissue injury. He missed the last 86 minutes of the game. Tim Taranto, one of their best ball winners, misses the last 68 minutes due to concussion. And then they didn't even make subs late in the game either. Sam Grill missed the last 19 minutes and Sam Lawler missed the last 10 minutes in a game where they don't have many subs. Was a little bit interesting, but they just, they didn't have the legs. And, I mean, that's fair enough in this one. I mean, it's not a good result. It's not great reading, but it could have maybe been a little bit better if they had some more legs on the bench. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, Kangaroos were definitely the better team. There's no doubt about it. They outplayed them throughout the whole game. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. Yeah, half-time, 10-3 to 2-12. Story of the day, right there. Team stats, anything exciting? Dominant in disposals, plus 148 disposals for the Roos, plus 9 inside 50s, plus 8 clearances, plus 24 contested possessions, plus 116 uncontested. They also had 8 less turnovers. Some really good numbers from Kangaroos. Doesn't mean much against a team like Richmond. Maybe, maybe not. A depleted Richmond as well at that. But they're winning the games that they need to. Outside of that West Coast loss, they're winning the games that they should be winning at the moment, the Kangaroos. It's going to be interesting to see how they continue to stack up against the better opposition over the next few weeks. Even this week will be a fascinating watch against GWS. We'll see how that plays out. Anything else that worth noting from this game? They had 14 extra shots. They dominated most areas of the game. They probably won by a little bit more than they should have, potentially, thanks to straight kicking and the fact that there were some injuries. But still, they're probably 40 to 50 points better off than Richmond would be my guess. Did well from turnover, 64 to 21. Did good from stoppage, 60 to 34. Really good from forward half, 70 to 13. So that was the big killer, their forward half scoring. If you kick 70, 11 goals 4 from forward half, you're going to win most games, I think. Brownlow votes, we've gone Harry Sheasel 3, Paul Curtis 2, Luke Davies-Yanaki 1. I think those 3 have to be the 3 that get the votes, and I would say probably in that order. Sheasel had 39 touches and a goal. He was huge, instrumental in everything. 16 contested possessions as well. Really good number for him. Paul Curtis kicked 6 goals from 13 touches. He was good. And Luke Davies-Yanaki had 26 touches. Was very good. Other players that maybe get in there, but I doubt it. McKercher, Wardlaw, Simpkins, Zerha in his new roll down back. But yeah, I think those 3 are the ones that get it. Sheasel, Curtis, Davies-Yanaki. Highest rated players in this one. Sheasel just sneaks ahead of Luke Davies-Yanaki in this one. They've both had great seasons. Across the year so far, Davies-Yanaki actually is slightly higher rated than Sheasel. Both really good games, though. Again, Cam Zerha, as we said, down back, played that role really well here. Interesting to see how that would go in a game against some better opposition. But it worked really well here. He rotated positions with McKercher, basically. Paul Curtis kicked 6 goals, was fantastic. Jack Darling, he's having a good year. Underrated season so far, in my opinion. Richmond, their best player was actually the highest rated player on the ground, Jack Ross. He was really good. Keep an eye on him. 26 touches, 18 of those contested. 12 ground ball gets. He was good. 4 intercepts. He gets a good tick of approval in this game. He was good. Kane McCuffley was good. Vlosten, okay. Prestia, you want more from these senior players, but they were in the top 5, and Jaden Short as well. Moving on to the next game, Melbourne-Brisbane, and this was the only upset of the weekend, and it did make me upset because it's the one that I was contemplating changing my tip on. We mentioned it when we were doing our footy tipping last episode. Melbourne played well against Brisbane, and they did again. The reason we probably didn't go with them was because they looked ordinary last week, Melbourne against Essendon, but they've been good the rest of the season, so we should have just trusted it. But it is what it is. They kick 16-8, 104. Brisbane 15-12, 102. The Demons win by 2 points. Even though Brisbane kicked the last 2 goals of the game to nearly get it back. Weird game. Bit of toing and froing in the first quarter, 25-25 at quarter time. Brisbane kicked away late in the second quarter to have that 16-point lead at half time, and you felt like maybe that was it, the gap they needed. But Melbourne came out of half time and absolutely tore the game to shreds, kicking like 4 goals in 13 minutes, and then another one 5 minutes later. To have a lead of over 10 points was huge, and it was still 6 points at 3-quarter time. Brisbane kicked the first to take the lead in the final quarter, and once again you're thinking maybe they've switched on. But no, Melbourne kicked the next 3 in the space of like 3-4 minutes midway through that quarter. And then it was goal for a bit. And then Brisbane did kick the last 2, but it was a little too late as the Demons walk away 2-point winners. Huge win for their season. We're not too stressed about it if we're a Brisbane fan right now because, I mean, they know what they're doing. They're fine. It's all about end of season being in form. They've done it the last 2 seasons. They'll be fine. Don't even stress about that. Melbourne, on the other hand, that's huge for them. The new look Demons, they're playing some good football. They're playing some exciting football, and they're getting wins. So good on them. Good on them indeed. Stats, +2 inside 50s. Melbourne, pretty even across the board. +5 clearances, Lions. Contested footy, pretty even. Uncontested was controlled by Brisbane, but they didn't make use of it. Had an extra 57 marks as well. And then jumping down, Brisbane had an extra 8 shots at goal. So they could have won. They maybe should have won, but they didn't, is the long and the short of it. Anything else that stands out? Melbourne pretty good at scoring from stoppage. Brisbane really good at scoring from turnover. Defensive half, both teams scored quite high from defensive half. 58 for Brisbane, 52 for Melbourne. They're pretty big numbers. Your team stats. Brownlow votes. We're gone Harvey Langford with 3. He was huge. I think he deserves 3 votes in this game. 27 touches. Pretty good disposal efficiency. 651 metres gained. I think he also kicked 3 goals. Really good game. Thorpe. We're Brownlow votes first. Lachie Neale 2. He was Brisbane's best player. No doubt about it in my mind. 31 touches. 16 of those contested. Really good in the clearance game. Huge performance from him. And Max Gawn, we've gone with 1. I don't know who gets the 1 in this. It's open. I think the Langford Neale were the best 2 players on the ground in terms of Brownlow voting wise, not necessarily the actual best 2 players. In an ideal world, I think Harris Andrews gets the final vote, but umpires don't tend to notice key defenders too often. So other players, Will Ashcroft's always a chance. Jack Steele had plenty of it. Max Gawn, as I've given the 1 to. But it's pretty open. It could be an absolute bolter for that 3rd spot in the votes, if we're being completely honest. Highest rated players, Daniel Turner. Really, really good performance from him. He's showing some really good signs. Thorpe, next highest, and then Langford, as we mentioned, was huge. Langdon on the other wing was also good. Cade Chandler, maybe he's better. One of his better games of the year so far. Getting back towards his 2024 form. Harris Andrews was the highest rated player on the ground. He's just an elite defender. He's probably number 2 right now, key defender in the competition behind Wilkie. Coleman's been huge this year. Having him back fit and healthy has been really good for the Lions. Lachie Neale, as we said, was really probably the best midfielder on the inside mid on the ground. Bruce Revel, he's been good, and Charlie Cameron has been putting together some good games as well. Final game of the round was the Western Derby. Yes, that's Derby, not Derby, as my commenters regularly tell me in the on the TikTok world. Dominant, really, from Fremantle. They end up winning 97-41. It wasn't the prettiest game of all time. It wasn't the most impressive win you'll ever see, but it was a win, and that's all that really matters for the Dockers in the end. 2-4 to 0-6 at quarter time. Eagles kicked the first 2 goals of the second quarter and actually hit the front before the Dockers switched back on to have a 22-point lead at half time. 3-quarter time, and it extended out to 38 points and then ends up being a 56-point margin in favour of the Dockers, the Purple Haze. Team stats in this one, I mean, inside 50s was pretty much level, 51 to 50, in favour of West Coast, actually, that. Plus 32 disposals from Fremantle. I don't think they were great, but they win the game comfortably in the end, and that's all you got to take from it. On the side of the Eagles, a little bit straighter kicking in front of goal. They still don't win this game, but they look better if they do. They won the contested footy. There's plenty of upside, I think, for this Eagles team. Most of their best players most weeks typically are some younger players that have come into the team recently. So I think there's plenty of positive signs on the Eagles side of the things, especially when we consider, I think Fremantle are probably one of the top 4 teams right now in the competition. Anything else worth noting from the team stats? Fremantle definitely were the better team overall, but West Coast put in a fight. Not much scoring from stoppage in this one. 16 to 10 in favour of the Eagles, but the scoring from turnover was huge. And that is probably West Coast's biggest downfall right now, is the turnovers and the ability of opposition to turn their turnovers into scoring. 87 Fremantle got. 87 out of their 97 points in this game were from turnover. West Coast managed 25 points from turnover. And a lot of it from defensive half. Transition was up. Really good numbers from Fremantle in that transition ability. 59 from defensive half. Really high chain percentages. D50 to forward 50. D half to forward 50. D half to scoring. 1 out of 5 times. So pretty good numbers across the board as a team from Fremantle. Not their best performance of all time, but they got the job done. Brownlow votes, we've gone Jai Miss with 3. Murphy Reid with 2, and Caleb Sarong with 1. I think it has to go all Fremantle here. West Coast just didn't have enough of the consistent, standout football winning players. Tom McCarthy maybe gets a vote, but I doubt it. Yeah, Jai Miss, I think, gets it for his goals. He was huge, kicked 5 goals in not the highest scoring game of all time. Jordan Clark had a lot of it. He's been good the last couple of weeks. 27 touches, 629 metres gained, so he could get votes. But we're going Murphy Reid. 26 touches, really involved in a lot of scores, goal assists, and that sort of thing. Caleb Sarong had 24 touches. I think he's in that calculation as well. So I think a miss, Reid, Sarong, and then I think Clark, Ryan, maybe your next 2, with possibly Luke Jackson as well, potentially. So there's probably 6 players fighting for votes in the Brownlow side of things. Really good, though, to see Jai Miss play as well as he did. He's struggled the last couple seasons after bursting onto the scene and being great. So we're starting to see him back to his best, which is huge for Fremantle and huge for him as well. Highest rated players, West Coast, Tom McCarthy was number one on the ground, actually. He was good, even if not many other Eagles were. He had 28 touches, good game from him. And 11 of those 28 came from intercepts. Tim Kelly was good. Murdoch returned from injury and was solid. All three of his games in the AFL have been of really good levels. Waterman kicked one goal. I think he won goal 4 maybe. Could have had a really good day. And Elliot Yeo was their 5th highest rated. For the Dockers, Jordan Clark ends up on top, just ahead of Luke Jackson, just ahead of Luke Ryan, just ahead of Murphy Reed, just ahead of Jai Amiss. All 5 of them really highly rated. Dominant performance in the numbers, at least, from Freo. They maybe could have done better than they did, but they get the win. Comfortable enough, 56 points in the end. We'll now jump into our Brownlow leaderboard after round 6. As I said, we do votes every single game of the season, based on what we think the umpires will do, not based on what we necessarily think were the best 3 players. And after round 6, it's a 2-way tie at the top. Zach Butters, Nick Dacos, 2 outstanding seasons from them so far. And we know they both poll votes, so 13 for each of them. Harry Sheasel has moved up. Well, technically up, I guess. He was equal third with about 7 players last week. 3-vote game puts him into outright third with 11 votes. And then it's pretty close behind that. 3-way tie in 4th. Lockie Neal, Bailey Smith, Clayton Oliver, all on 10 votes. 1 vote behind them is Caleb Sarong in 7th. And then a 3-way tie in 8th, which is Luke Davies-Yanaki, Jai Newcomb, and Marcus Bontempelli, all on 8 votes after round 6. That's how the leaderboard stands. Moving into our MVP, top 5 rated players in our rating system get votes for every team every week. Winning team get 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 for the top 5, and the losing team get half of that. If there's a draw, they split the middle. New leader after round 6, Bailey Smith jumps to the top, 41 votes after round 6, just ahead of Bontempelli on 39. Maxi Gawn in 3rd on 36. Are your 3 leaders? Luke Davies-Yanaki right behind him on 35. Wilkie's been huge on 34. Brodie Grundy 31. 2-way tie in 7th. Petrarca and Butters on 30. Zach Merritt 29. Luke Jackson on 28 rounds out your top 10 after round 6. Final thing to look at here is our tips from the weekend. We went, I was about to say 6. We went 8 out of 9, just dropping the Melbourne-Brisbane game. Disappointingly for us. We'd done really well. We did say there was 2 games that we could see being upsets. That was the Thursday night Collingwood-Carlton game, and it was the Brisbane-Melbourne game. One of them was an upset, one wasn't. A bit disappointing to only go 8 out of 9, but at the end of the day, it's not too bad. We said Collingwood by 13. They won by 5, so not too shabby. Geelong won by 75. We said 21, so we're a little bit off there. Same with this one. We had Sydney by 19. They won by 41. We said Gold Coast by 41. They won by 9. Hawthorn, we had 36. They won by 3. Crows, we had by 20. They won by 1 point. North Melbourne, we had by 15. They win by 75. We had Brisbane by 17. They lost by 2. In the final game, we had Freo by 26. They won by 56. We go 8 out of 9. 37 of 54 on the year after round 6. And that is a wrap on everything from round 6 of the footy. We've got Anzac Day weekend coming up this weekend, so make sure you come back for the next episode, round 7 preview. That will be out on Thursday morning on your favourite platform, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button, and leave comments. Let me know your thoughts. All your interactions do help, so make sure you do. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Go follow all the social medias. It's all Aussie Rules everywhere. Just search it up. You'll find us. And yeah, that's pretty much a wrap for today's episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.